on the breakout. Gold's going to make a new all-time highs.
Gold-backed ETFs seen inflows of over $5 billion.
$0.8 trillion gold market.
Why are we the only guys that seem to understand this?
Makes your head spin. Welcome to Live from the Vault. My name is Shane Moran, and I'll be your host for this week's episode. And this week's episode, we have none other than CMO Jai Bifulco with some updates for our global community. And we'll also be going to Andy Maguire for Talking Gold. You're not going to want to miss anything this week. So with that, hey, for the benefit of our global community, I just want to send a quick message before we get started, hoping that everyone is safe and, more importantly, healthy during these unprecedented times. If you're a newcomer just learning about the Kinesis monetary system, I highly recommend that you go to my.kinesis.money. That's my.kinesis.money, and just watch the quick 10-minute overview. It'll bring you up to speed. And so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the CMO of Kinesis Money, Mr. Jai Bifulco. Over to you, Jai.
So thank you, Shane, and welcome everybody to episode 10 of Live from the Vault. So I just wanted to sort of wish everybody well, and it's great to have you here. And for all the newcomers, a little bit about Kinesis. Kinesis is a monetary system based on physical gold and silver. Allocated physical gold and silver, which means you have the legal title to the gold that you own within the Kinesis system. It is fully audited, and you can actually see the latest audit that was completed by Inspectorate recently on our website, which you can go and see under audits on our website. And basically, Kinesis is the digital representation of the physical bullion that you own in vaults that are situated around the world. And it's an honest and fair system that's been developed for the use of all, that is attached with yields, so it incentivizes people for spending and using Kinesis over the course of a lifetime. And the idea behind Kinesis is that it's faster and cheaper system to use for people when transacting with one another. So Kinesis at the moment is going through some rapid changes in the way we're delivering our product and developing and evolving the product. So there's lots always going on. So these Live from the Vault sessions are here to keep you informed and up to date with everything Kinesis. So we welcome you all, and I'll just jump into some updates to get started for today. Before handing over to Andy Maguire, our strategic advisor and Kinesis advocate. Andy Maguire has an extensive experience in the gold industry, and for those of you that don't know Andy Maguire, I'd encourage you to do a bit of research and to look into him a little bit. He has very, very good insights, and he's very well respected within the industry, and for good reason. So without further ado, I'll get on and cover off some key updates for the month of April. So basically, right now we had a first from 500 campaign that is finished. The first 500 campaign is now closed and counted. We're going through compiling the winners, and we're about to announce the winners. They'll be announced next week. We'll be reaching out to all the winners of the first 500 for their KVT allocations. And so please do look out for an email. You will probably get some emails from our team requesting various bits and pieces. Some might be around KYC, whether or not some verification of identity is being done. It is important to verify your identity in relation to KVT because we cannot issue the KVTs unless we have that. We have some exciting developments going on with Bitcoin and Tether coming onto the Kinesis exchange. So we're looking at end of next week or the first week of May for Bitcoin to be on the exchange, ready for everybody to be trading and to be converting into and out of physical gold and silver, and bringing your portfolio into one consolidated place with Kinesis is now going to be even more possible. And US Tether expected around about mid-May will be coming on next, and then from there we're doing a lot of work in the back end of the system to make it really easy and faster for us to be able to add coins. So, over the course of the rest of the year, you'll see more and more pairs come on, and more of a product suite and portfolio to be able to be housed within the Kinesis monetary system. So not only do we have the gold aspect covered, but most of the digital currencies as well, including obviously our holding for US dollar and euro as well. So, on the desktop exchange, I'd like to just give a little bit of an update there. I've been playing with the new user interface for the Kinesis exchange. It is a vast improvement on what is currently live. So I'm excited to release that very, very soon. It will come shortly after the additions of the pairs, the USDT and the Bitcoin. And once those are out, then the new exchange interface will go out and live. And it will allow for people to have a better user experience across the platform. And it's going to be, modernized in a way that is scalable, and it's looking really good. So, that is on the way, and I am actually, the team is playing with it in a sort of test environment at the moment. And I'm really excited to have that, come towards you guys, sort of looking at May for that. So exciting times there. I will just give a little bit of an insight beyond this, just the exchange. We're working on some really, really exciting stuff across the whole of the platforms and product suite, whether it's from the Kinesis money accounts that you have, or whether it's Mint. We'll be going through the whole lot and bringing everything into one consolidated user experience that will be easy to use and have lots of new functionality for the user, including, easy conversion and easy purchasing of Kinesis KAU Gold and Kinesis KAG Silver without the need to go onto the exchange. So this will be a simple way to just get your gold, digital gold and silver, and whether or not you're using it for remittance purposes, for sending cheaply and quickly overseas, or whether or not you're using it for sending to friends and family, or whether or not you're using it to store your metal or spend your metal, we have, an easy way for you to get in and out, basically. And the same with the conversion as well. If you want to bring Bitcoin in, rather than go and do an exchange trade, we want to make it easy for you to convert. So it'll simply be, I want to bring in 1 Bitcoin and convert 2 KAU. It'll give you a figure, you press execute, it's done. So just nice and simple user experience stuff that is all being worked on. We're playing with this on a daily basis, and it is looking good. So we are excited to we're going to keep you more and more up to date on all of that. And as it does get released, we'll cover more extensively on these live from the vaults. And so that's what's happening on that front. We have a lot going on around the world in regards to partnerships at the moment. And we have the Indonesia stuff. And, if you missed it in one of the live from the vault episodes, we had Eric Main, our Chief Strategy Officer, covering off on Indonesia. You can click on the link to that Live from the Vault episode, which essentially gives you a bit of a rundown on what Indonesia is and what it's about. It's an extensive integration project we're working with the Indonesian government, and it will really bolster the Kinesis velocity and a lot of the transactions that are coming through the system, which in turn benefits everybody in the system. And so I would encourage you to give that a watch. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have Eric Main back on to give another update on Indonesia and look at what's progressed there, and give some exciting news around that as well. And due to a lot of the COVID-19 stuff, some of the attention of governments has been sort of diverted. But as people sort of learn to deal and deal within the crisis, things are still being done. So we will have an update with you, for you, by Eric in the next couple of episodes. So stay tuned for that. And just going a little bit more into the partnership stuff, we have obviously opened up the African region and the newly appointed Martin Aguilera from the Latin American region. And much is happening there. It's really, really exciting. We are getting a lot of interest from a lot of interesting organizations that really want to do business with Kinesis and partnerships with Kinesis. And without giving too much away of what we're doing in Latin America, there will be some updates coming out of the region as we do progress later into the year. But we've had some great stuff happening out in Africa with Christian Rocha, head of Africa, who's been putting together some interesting partnerships out there, which are actually coming to fruition now. And very, very shortly, we'll be announcing some interesting steps out there and some interesting partnerships out there that spanned within Africa and beyond Africa, out into various parts of the world. There's a multitude of product options and different integrations we'll be doing with our partners out of Africa, and in due course over the next very shortly, we'll be releasing a partnership announcement around what's going on there. And I can say that it's very interesting stuff, and it will again attribute to the whole when it comes to Kinesis. So we have quite a number of partnerships that we'll start staggering out along with everything else product related, as we go throughout the year. Quick mention on yields. I know everyone's going to be wanting to ask about the yield engine. I can comment that the yield engine is on track, in line with our initial roadmap projections that we put out earlier in the Live from the Vault. It is we're on track still with the yields. The yield engine will be released within the given timeline, which I believe was Q2, and we look forward to releasing the yields. Remember, the first yield that will be coming out will be the KVT yield, and then we will stagger out the yields from there. It will come from the minter's yield, the holder's yield, and all that will subsequently release. And we've taken into account some great user interface items as well that allows people to see what's going on with their yields and keep track of them. And again, we're going to make that all nice and accessible for everybody, and it'll be good. And then obviously, as velocity picks up and volume picks up within the system, you'll start to see the yields grow. So this is a long-term. The yields are a long-term proposition here. And what we have is, the blueprint that was the original blueprint document put together, which we're going to be releasing a new version of in the next few weeks, just to update some of the assumptions and things like that to be in line with current market conditions and current digital crypto market conditions, just to balance everything out and give everybody a nice, look at in reality of 2020. Of what all that looks like. So please stay tuned for that. The principles still remain the same though. It's just an updated version for everybody to review. So moving on from that, we have the Kinesis app. So the Kinesis app is going great. We've had the optimization experts come in and do a whole bunch of recommended changes for us, which will see the numbers of the app users grow. It will allow for better content on the App Store, and what we're actually doing now from the app side, which is in pending release, is the biometric login. So the option to have a fingerprint to log in with a PIN code, 6-digit PIN code, rather than having to put your email address and password every time you log into the app. So just like any other normal banking app or app you might be using, to simply get in and see your Kinesis holdings, you just push your fingerprint and you're in. So it's just to make it a lot more accessible and usable for everybody. So that's all being tested right now. I've had a play with it. It looks really, really good. And that will be released very shortly, and we'll be announcing that once it's out. So that's coming as well. And I guess just moving forward, I know the debit card will be on everybody's mind. Lots of progression within the debit card space with Kinesis. I can't give too much away here because it is a strategy that we are employing internally that is unique. It is unique in the way of how we're getting a global reach and how we're actually enabling point of sale transactions on KAU and KAG, which will allow you to actually transact with your silver and your gold at point of sale. And that so with the debit card, we have a Q2 deadline out there, which we've given to everybody for the release of the debit card. We are absolutely on track with that. However, we've got some interesting developments internally that will probably see a shuffle in which region we release with first. So rather than mention what specific region now, what I'll say is that we're on track for Q2. And as we get further through May, we will give an update onto the release of the regions. But as all of that is happening, we are working hard in the background to start thinking about, you know, the other regions and the global expansion. And we've come up with some great solutions so that, you know, by the end of the year, we will release, you know, a multitude of regions that will see us have coverage, global coverage with our debit card program. So, you know, this coupled with all of the platform and product developments, you know, with all the app developments, with the debit card, you know, everything's going really, really well. And, you know, as we progress towards, you know, Q3 and Q4 of this year, I'm excited to see what Kinesis can do. Which leads me into my last point, really, as we near that Q3 and Q4 sort of deadline, or point rather. What we're going to have is we're going to have this incredible product suite that is enabling, you know, physical gold and silver to be used as money in a Kinesis monetary system, which means people will be earning yields from every purchase they're making on their gold and silver. They're allocated, legally allocated gold and silver, which they tidally own, and the ability to transact without the need of using a bank with cheap, fast, simple, secure transactions based on stable gold and silver. And all you have to do is just go in there and look at what's going on in the market right now. The price of oil, crude oil. You have to look at, you know, go and have a look at all of the indices that have, you know, sort of dropped with the COVID-19. Look at the state of what's going on with the instability of everything at the moment. Then you have gold, which went through a brief 11-day flux where we had some liquidity issues because of the demand that very quickly recovered and ends up being on a very, very stable price point. So, you know, traditionally, you know, the reason we based, you know, our currency on price stable gold is because gold is one of the most stable store of values the world has ever known. History has proven that. So we have, you know, this incredible monetary system and incredible technology with great sort of, you know, functionality to it and a product suite that it builds into, that you can just manage all your digital portfolio, all of your physical gold portfolio, physical silver portfolio, and even house all your currencies and use them for everyday transactions, sending and receiving. Even if you're a multinational, we can plug Kinesis in and allow you to use Kinesis as a mechanism to transact and operate your company finances and transactions through, which, you know, ultimately will lead to a economic benefit and a financial benefit for you as a company as well. So, you know, the proposition is becoming a reality, and the reality is looking really, really good. So, you know, without going on too much more, I would like to just hand off here and say thank you very much for your time. I hope it's been informative. We will be bringing guests, and we will be evolving this series to, you know, be more informative and to bring more, you know, value to you guys. And as we go through and get more of these updates regionally, we'll be bringing on more guests and be bringing back Eric Main and Thomas Coughlin and some of the key members of the organization, amongst others. So thank you very much, and we hope you've enjoyed, you know, we hope you enjoy the rest of the session. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And so with that, it's my pleasure to bring on for Talking Gold, the none other than Mr. Andy Maguire. Andy, over to you.
Guys, you know, every 2 weeks on this channel, we provide an update of the gold and silver markets. While really, I mean, this is really trying to demystify some of the things going on, but it's really, each week we're seeking to answer probably the most asked questions of the week. And obviously we get quite a few, but that it's really revolving around the payment of physical equation, really. And so following a raft of staged interviews and reports by the so-called industry apologists, which are wheeled out after the paper market broke about 2 weeks ago, in our last webinar, we provided a very technical look at the gold and silver market structure with the objective, really, of providing an unbiased view. Now, okay, while it's true we are extremely bullish on gold and silver, really my objective is to provide a refreshing wholesale market view of why physical gold and silver priced in US dollars will make fresh highs. Now, with that objective in mind, let's sum up what we looked at 2 weeks ago. Now, if you haven't looked at the 8th of April webinar, it may have been the 9th, to be honest, but anyway, it was 2 weeks ago. It provided a lot more detail, which would be helpful in demystifying the technical reasons behind this week's summary that I'm about to give, and we'll connect more dots to add in some fresh market updates as well, which are really important. So in summary, last time, we looked at the major drivers that foreshadow an upcoming paper market reset, and really why it's critical that you satisfy yourself that any and all investments in gold and silver are in physical form, so that when gold is revalued, you're not sidelined, holding worthless paper claims on bullion, or even worse, counterparty on a bank's balance sheet. So really, of course, what we're talking about is unallocated gold in one form or another. Now, we looked at why your bullion should be held directly in your possession, which is fine, to the level you can insure it, or is most likely vaulted in your name for safekeeping. Now, when your bars are vaulted, whether parked independently or if you're seeking to gain some alpha from your physical holdings by utilizing the gold-backed Kinesis currency, for example, that at all times your bullion is segregated in your name. Now, regardless of how you trade or invest, you have to verify that your bullion is titled to you and never sits on the balance sheet of any institution where it's held in their name. So we also looked at what broke the paper market, which bottom line was a failure by the LBMA liquidity providers who clear trades in London to deliver physical on demand when it was demanded. Now, being called upon for physical delivery was not expected, and as we discussed 2 weeks ago in more detail, the massive contango dislocation between spot gold and futures price was caused by the LBMA's market-making liquidity providers who were called upon to deliver physical. They were forced to exit these positions at any cost into a liquid disappearing, widening bid-ask spreads. Now, if you recall, on Tuesday, March the 24th, and as a trader, you will know this, and I think even if you're not a trader, you'll know that there was a massive two-way spread in the London market to $100 between the bid and the ask. Now, to put that into context, and I think we did this last time a little, but this breakdown in the single largest global foreign exchange market behind, say, the dollar-euro, in fact, dollar-euro is the largest cross, but it turned into a massive embarrassment for the LBMA, who failed in their mandate and obligation to make a market in over-the-counter FX gold. Now, it's inconceivable, if you think about it, that a major foreign exchange cross could actually fail. Now, can you imagine a failure to provide a bid and ask in, say, a dollar yen or dollar euro? You're going to travel abroad and there's no cross. This can't happen, as fiat currencies can be generated in sufficient quantity to manage that spread. On one side of the currency cross, you may devalue against the other. Say the pound may go down up against the dollar, or the other way around, but ultimately they find a level they can be squared at. Not so in the gold and silver currencies. They cannot be printed. And if to square the trade, the bullion is actually demanded for physical delivery and not rolled into some derivative forward, and the counterparty that's holding that trade against you is so leveraged on that trade they don't have the physical to deliver, they're in default. It's nothing more complicated than that. Now, with the over-the-counter related LBMA spot market broken due to a slew of unfulfillable delivery demands, in an emergency attempt to restore paper market liquidity, the LBMA moved to collude with the CME, which is, we again, looking, perhaps go back to the previous webinar to look at that, but basically the CME is a competitor who provides the platform for the futures market, the US-centric futures markets. And so basically they colluded with the CME to provide unallocated loco London paper gold as settlement for delivery obligations. They call this new contract the 4GC futures contract. It's important to remember what that is, and we're going to go through a little more detail about that. Now, the contract really was designed to provide a band-aid replacement for the broken non-delivery EFP safety valve, and that's exchange for physical safety valve. Now, that's, again, we went through in far more detail last time, but essentially, what they did this so that they could buy time to cover off massive underwater naked short offside bets. However, as we noted last time, this is just not fooling anyone. Now we have the reason that this contract has to date not traded, and why it is not as spun by the CME and LBMA as just a logistics problem, which is really what their spin is. Now, we challenged the CME and the LBMA to provide an explanation as to why this contract launched, that was 3 weeks ago now, has not traded a single ounce. Now, none of our calls or emails, go figure, to the CME or the LBMA were returned. So Chris Powell of GATA also posed similar questions and also got no response. So GATA publicized our assessment on Friday publicly, which I will provide the rationale for here in a moment, as it will make it clear as to why this contract has not traded. Now, first, I'll actually read from my letter and GATA's post, which is also in the hands of the Bank of England. And I'll just read very quickly. It's just a couple of paragraphs that I've taken from this letter, and it says, which is what we said, it's becoming clear that the new 4GC contract is not being marketed by the CME. This raises a major red flag. In fact, it increasingly looks like this contract is not fit for purpose and is just a smoke and mirrors illusion. All the Newswire reports from last week through this week were touting phantom plane charters of 400-ounce bars being transported to New York. Now, if this had been true, then the bullion is missing. So no loco London 4-ounce and 100-ounce bars have entered any of the CME vaults. Has it been stolen? Well, where the hell is it? Furthermore, underscoring deliberately spun misinformation, these erroneous air shipment reports were undertaken to assure the CME and LBMA participants that contracts are backed by physical. Any wholesaler will tell you that employing a special charter flight which requires specialist insurance requirements is not the way gold is transported. Bullion shipments are regularly sent as cargo on passenger flights without any additional insurance being undertaken. To date, no bullion has been transported from London to New York. Why? So that was just really, I've just taken those two paragraphs from what we wrote. Now, industry apologists try to spin that no flights are available. This is absolute nonsense. As an example, 4 flights to New York depart Switzerland every day. So let's look at the real reason, though, that the CME members have been reluctant to market this new 4GC contract solution. The real reason is that the few insider banks, including the Bank of International Settlements, who are privileged to access the exchange for physical conduit, have utilized this sole link between the futures markets and the 10 times larger over-the-counter foreign exchange spot gold market in London, where incidentally 2/3 of global mine production is cleared by the LPMCL every day, that's the London Precious Metal Clearing Limited, is cleared every day, to both profit greatly while assisting officials to keep the paper capping game alive. That's why we see these massive volumes getting cleared. But before looking at the massive risk-free profits this is, rewarded to the agent first-year bullion banks, let's just drill down a tiny little bit on this. Now, recall when the spot gold bid-ask spread suddenly widened, breaking up to an unprecedented $100. And that's all on record. And this surprise event occurred in conjunction with the spot to futures spread diverging to an unprecedented $80 contango, unheard of in history. And it became clear that several major, now this is the part that's not really known, several major European market-making banks were actually in trouble. Now, all the footprints led to an anchor liquidity provider, which is UBS. Now, the trading desk, this trading desk has a gold trading account with the Bank of England and is known in the industry to have close affiliation with Benoit Gilson's BIS gold trading desk in Switzerland. Now, what caused this key liquidity provider to bail followed a surge of physical delivery demands that they could not be met. Now, this spooked all other liquidity providers, and as a result, no market makers wanted to make a market in gold. None of them were willing to step in and make markets in this massive over-the-counter gold market, which we're trying to underscore how important this market is, what the size of this market. So bottom line, this paper to physical breakdown was triggered really by a massive short squeeze in futures, exposing hundreds of tons of underwater unallocated spot positions, which were being demanded for physical delivery. Now, the massive contango dislocation between spot gold and futures was caused by liquidity providers, and we just named pretty much who they were, called upon to deliver physical, panicking to exit these delivery obligations into illiquid, disappearing, widening bid-ask spreads. Now, on the Tuesday that the EFPs blew up, this, as we say, this expanded to an unprecedented $100. Now, this lack of market depth actually forced them to sell over the counter. This is the key point. It forced them to sell over the counter longs at market in order to cover directly related, deeply offside, rising short squeeze futures contracts. That's the nature of the EFP. Okay, so you've got a bid and ask $100 apart, and you've got a futures price that's rising $80 above that. That's a pretty much of a nightmare situation. So with no liquid forward markets to roll these exchange for physical delivery obligations into, it was at this point that the second tier European trading banks were hung out to dry. Who was on the other side of these trades? The US-centric trading banks aggressively moving in to capitalize on the European trading banks forced to exit massive undeliverable EFP loss positions. Now, this has left a lot of bad blood between the trading houses, and you're going to see more of this spill out. Now, as we discussed last time, this unprecedented failure to deliver scenario was not foreseen, and with no physical deliver, nor the usual conduits to offset this exposure, i.e. the 13-day forwards, the situation required an immediate, officially sanctioned bailout to avert an immediate cash gold reset. Such an overnight gold revaluation would have exposed the entire daisy chain of taxpayer-funded, too big to fail banks who were exposed to trillions of derivative exposure to fail. And it's clear that UBS was officially let off the hook, and the second-tier European trading banks stuck with the bulk of the losses. And I can verify this 100% personally. So now we get to why the 4GC contract has not been marketed by the CME members. And this is something they're not going to discuss. The existing, and this makes sense, the existing EFP conduit, which currently provides this exclusive risk-free guaranteed profit for the first-tier market-making US bullion banks, would become pointless after opening up this 4GC contract to all traders. That's why it's not being marketed. The March EFP volumes, let's have a look at these volumes. This is half of the course. It's been going on for years, but let's just take March. The EFP volumes averaged about 16,000 lots per day. And that was before the crisis on the 23rd of March reared its head. So on average, with around a $2 premium to spot, which is the average premium to spot to execute the EFP trade, after costs, this would have netted insiders a guaranteed 80 cents net profit per ounce, equating to a cool 1.3 million profit per day, risk-free. Now we're talking about 16,000 lots. We've seen days when there's been 38,000 lots. So this is huge, even at an 80 cent net profit. but it's an insider conduit, not available to most people. Also, now this is where it gets interesting, also from rewarding agent bank insiders, it really behoves officials to sanction the rolling of the bulk of these 50 tons of paper market liabilities per day into an unreportable 13-day forward. The very same unreportable forward that we warned the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey of. Now, the ability to channel these unreported smoke and mirrors paper market liabilities through 1,800 tons per day of officially reported LBMA clearing volumes became a key component of the official gold containment strategy, which is another reason why they don't want to see this EFP conduit evaporate. Now let's look at the EFP volumes from the paper, from when since the paper market blew up on March the 23rd through to 31st of March. Just from that date, there was 7,120,200 ounces EFP'd. That's 221 tons at an average of a $58 per ounce. That netted insiders a risk-free guaranteed 413 million in just 7 days of trading. Now, clearly the BAIS has stepped in to try and manage the situation, as now in April, we're only averaging just under 4,000 lots that are EFP'd by insiders, again, for a risk-free profit of just 13.8 million a day, based upon the average, the current spread. Sure enough, this gaming is ultimately arbitraging the spreads between spot and futures, which is what we said last time would happen. It's closing the contango spread between spot and futures. And into today's gaming, and we're looking at a bit of a sell-off today, that's narrowed to about $8 and putting silver futures into backwardation. But even when spreads ultimately narrow to par, which they will do, and EFPs trade back at their $2 premium to a much higher spot gold price, I may add, there will still be at least an 80-cent risk-free profit per ounce to gain. So it's patently clear why the US traders don't want the 4GC contract to sideline this insider-juiced cash cow. Now, through the CME, officials have done everything possible to weigh on paper gold. We've seen raising margins multiple times, the doubling of position concentration levels from 3,000 lots to 6,000 lots per trader. However, all of this is only a short-term attempt to shore up paper market liquidity while insiders and officials move to cash settle and cover off as much mismatched paper to physical market dislocations as possible. So with physical in such strong demand, all parties need a higher US dollar price. That is the immediate thought that is I want to leave you with. Physical is in strong demand. Everyone requires a higher US dollar price, including officials and the banks who are definitely long for their own books. An immediate capping into the end of this month, and we're talking about options expiry next week, also Bank of International options expiry next Thursday, where the BIS appears to have drawn a line in spot at 1690. Now, we did warn people of this. However, this could easily be overrun ahead of OFX. But that's why we're seeing a heavy day today. Ultimately, dips will be bought, and you guarantee that the commercials, the insiders, and officials are doing everything to go long against all the sellers today. So that's my little update for this week. Next week, we'll go through, we'll connect the dots into what's happened since then. But in the meantime, I wish everybody a really, really pleasant weekend. And also, I also wish you to be, hope you stay safe. And obviously, you know, I've been one person who's had this virus. It's not as bad as you think. Really, basically, it's like a bad cold. I know that there's a lot of people that have suffered from this. Unfortunately, being locked down here is becoming a little bit, let's just say, it's not welcome anymore. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I hope everybody stays safe, and we'll have a look forward to the next update soon.
All right, Andy Maguire, thank you so much for that timely update. And just wanted to remind our community members one more time that if you haven't seen the Gold movie, go to my.kinesis.money, watch the movie, 10 minutes. It takes 10 minutes, but it gives you a quick snapshot. And also download the Kinesis app. It's available right now. It's live right now. You can get it at the Apple Store or you can get it at Google Play. And if you've already downloaded it and you're using it and enjoying it, don't forget to rate it. All right. So with that, we'll see you on the next episode of Live from the Vault. Bye for now.